So let's do the next example. If I have f of x equal to x squared, I mean x to the fifth, you can easily find the derivative of this guy. That's gonna be just 5x to the 4. Now then, some of you may think, but wait a minute, 5x of the 4, I mean 5x to the 4, this is just another function. So can we find the derivative of this guy again? Well, you certainly can, and that is called the second derivative. So the second derivative is actually just the derivative of the derivative. So when you take derivative the first time, you get 5 prime of x equal 5 times 4x squared. If you find the derivative of this guy again, we will get what we call the second derivative. And second will basically come from the finding the derivative twice. So that's going to be f prime of x. So the prime that just means I take derivative twice. And that is just going to equal to the derivative of 5x to the 4th. So that's going to be 20x to the 3rd. So second derivative is not so hard. You just have to take derivative again. So let's move on to the next example. If I want to find the derivative of x times 2 to the x, so I'm gonna have, this is two things being multiplied, so I'm gonna have to use my trusty product rule. So f prime of x is gonna be, let's see, the derivative of the first term, so that's gonna be 1 times the second term, which is 2 to the x, plus the first term, which is x, times derivative of the second term, which is derivative of 2 to the x, is going to be log of 2 times 2 to the x. So this is my first derivative using the product rule. Now then, let me find the second derivative. So the second derivative means I will just have to take derivative of this guy again. So derivative of 1 times 2 to the x. Right. Okay. Even though it seems like I have two things multiply, but I don't have to use the product rule again because 1 is just a constant. So derivative of 1 times 2 to the x is going to be just the derivative of 2 to the x, and the derivative of that is going to be just log of 2 times 2 to the x. So that's the derivative of my first term. My second term, this is going to be more troublesome because my second term, I have two things being multiplied, so I'm going to have to use the product rule again. If I use the product rule with the second term, I should see two things being added. The first thing is going to be derivative of the first term, which is 1 times log of 2 times 2 to the x. So that's pretty simple. Let me show you. So I have the derivative of x is 1, log of 2 times 2 to the x stay the same. My second term, the x stay the same, and I need to find the derivative here. This should be the derivative of log of 2 times 2 to the x. So what is the derivative of log of 2 times 2 to the x? That's going to be log of 2. Log of 2 stay the same. Derivative of 2 to the x that's going to be log of 2 times 2 to the x. So in my last term, I actually have log of 2 come out twice. The first one is just if the first one is just the constant, stay the same. The second one, let me try to draw a fancy color. The second one is the derivative of 2 to the x. Okay, so that should make sense. So I take the first derivative. That's pretty easy. That's just the product rule. I take the second derivative. The first one is pretty simple. I just use the basic exponential rule. The second one is the product of two things. So I use product rule. The first term is easy. The second rule, however, involves finding the derivative of log of 2 times 2 to the x. Log of 2 is a constant, so there's nothing to do with it. Derivative of 2 to the x is actually log of 2 times 2 to the x. So the whole thing combined to be x times log of 2 times log of 2 times 2 to the x. So you actually log of 2 twice in your function. But that's all we have. So that's basically the second derivative of the function that you have.